Today we're bringing you deep into the eastern German uplands, near the place where we once grew up. At the end of winter we spent 2 days in the Ore Mountains to search for abandonments. As guerrilla preservationists of such buildings, we try to document the stories hidden behind forgotten walls. In the first episode of our 2-part series, we led you through a range of places rich in variety. From a perfectly preserved time capsule to a dangerously unstable structure reclaimed by nature. This time, however, we focus on a true hidden gem. Turn on English subtitles for the best experience and join us on day 2 of our latest adventure. Oh boy, why do we always end up in situations like this?
Also so ganz vertraute Konstruktion.
On a cold Sunday morning, we were climbing over a rusted old bridge, hoping it wouldn't collapse under our feet. Okay, somehow we managed to reach the other side in one piece, but only seconds after, a part of the grid we were just walking on fall down in the rapid stream.
Holy shit. Ja, das ist ein Blech weggebrochen.
Huh?
Ja, das ist gerade ein Blech weggebrochen.
Without wasting a thought on how much luck we just had, we were purposefully heading to our main destination for today. And this wasn't even the biggest danger that day, because actually there was a hurricane moving in our direction, but at this point we didn't know that this would be a race against time. So in summary, just a regular day for the BWT crew. And yet our day was starting so peacefully. We had no clue where we were. Already after dusk we were pitching our tent next to some field road. Sure, we wanted to leave as soon as possible before the owner of the land showed up and caused trouble, which would be his right because we were trespassing again. But food had priority. We needed an energizing breakfast in order to be well prepared for today's exploration. We were throwing all of our leftover food in a pot and it was actually delicious.
Oh, das ist das Leben eines Obdachlosen.
From the eastern part of the Ore Mountains, we wanted to head to the west end. Although not that much people live here, as you could already see in our recent episode, the whole region is still of historical significance. Despite the name of the central German uplands referring to the enormous ore deposits, nowadays the Ore Mountains are also known for another important raw material. After World War II, the Soviet Union was mining enormous amounts of uranium here. Only because of that, their atomic bomb project could be realized. However, today's episode isn't about ore, uranium or nukes, but about paper. And we just arrived at our destination. It's a relic of a place rich in tradition, which has shaped the whole region. In the 19th century, many factories were located at the river in this valley. Benefiting from the direct position of the railroad line to a bigger city, a paper mill was emerging here around 1880. For more than 100 years the factory lasted. Only in 2013 the company was finally abandoned after years of financial problems. But the factory halls, as you can see them here, weren't used for an even longer period of time. The old plant was shut down and a more modern one was constructed right next door. However, what's actually more interesting for us isn't the factory itself, but the treasure hidden behind it. But it wasn't that easy to get there. We are glad that we had insider information from a companion explorer who has been here before.
Also wir müssen ein bisschen aufpassen. Das Gebiet neben uns, da arbeiten noch Leute, obwohl Sonntag ist. Wir haben jetzt hier geparkt und müssen über diese Fabrikbrache zur Location, die ist dahinter versteckt. Da müssen wir schauen, wie wir da irgendwie an den Zäunen vorbeikommen.
This magnificent villa from the time when the factory was constructed was the starting point for our infiltration. During the last years of the plant, especially paper for food packaging and printing, as well as specialty papers of all kinds were made here. After the company wasn't profitable anymore, it was bought up. But the business couldn't be saved in that way either, and so it was declared insolvent. Today, some parts of the property are leased. That's why we had to be very careful, because we didn't want to get seen while exploring. For this very reason, we took the sneaky but very adventurous way over the bridge you already saw in the beginning of the episode. That's how the building we wanted to explore looks from the outside. But to get in, we had to enter around the back through the densely overgrown inner courtyard. At this point we were glad that it was still winter, and therefore the vegetation was rather moderately. At first it looked like the place would be Loctite, but as you should know by now, there's always a way in somewhere. So, welcome to Strawberry School. And now try to guess why the place is called that. It bears repeating, that's how we love our abandonments. Left behind items from a bygone era, plaster is crumbling off the walls, and moss as well as mildew are spreading extensively. It's remarkable that nature hasn't creeped in yet. As you can see, it is trying. Really. But it's waiting patiently behind closed doors for an opportunity. In the end, nature always finds a way. To be honest, it was impossible for us to find any information about this place. Everything we claim now is based on speculation. Due to the proximity to the plant, we are presuming that this is the former company school of the paper mill. It was a huge facility in the past, and so they were training their junior staff here for certain. The structure was constructed sometime after the founding of the German Democratic Republic in 1949, and closed down for unknown reasons when Germany was reunited again. Our first thought in such a case always is that there probably wasn't any demand anymore. Maybe it wasn't possible to pay for their education due to the financial problems we already mentioned. This is a small building with only a few classrooms, so only a little number of apprentices could be taught here. The curriculum covered subjects like the function of different machines, but also chemistry and the substances which were used in the course of production. And last but not least, it was all about paper. And you can find plenty of that still today. In these cupboards, for example, we were discovering a variety of work drawings. On closer inspection, it turned out that they were all showing the paper factory next door. This board indicates that pupils had to compete here in different teaching subjects in the past. Those contests were quite common in the GDR. With the friendly strife between the labor of the country, the communist state tried to compensate the inefficiency of the state-controlled economy. Which didn't work out in the end, by the way. After spending some time here and looking around closely, we accidentally spotted a group of people approaching. They were coming the same way as we did, which was the bridge.
Ich glaube, die wissen nicht, wie sie runterkommen sollen.
As it turned out, it was photographers again. Lately, we were running across quite a lot of people in abandoned sites. As it seems, urban exploration has become a popular hobby now. For exploring and shooting such structures, there are different strategies. While we have a rather traditional understanding and mostly leave the places exactly as we find them, we apparently just met a group of explorers with a more extreme attitude.
Habt ihr die Erdbeere rausgenommen? Nee, ne?
Nö, die lagen hier rum.
Nee, die dachte, die wäre immer hinten drin.
Nee, die lag wirklich schon hier rum, wo wir reinkamen.
Ja, das glauben wir dir euch. Das ist ja das Ding. Das Ding geht rum.
Wir wissen es ja nicht.
Das Ding geht rum wie Semmel. Das ist.
Ja.
Jetzt geht jetzt richtig rum.
Legst du jetzt wieder zurück, oder?
Ich leg die dahin, wo die war. Ja.
Okay.
Ja.
Wie oft seid ihr hier? Weil wir sind zum ersten Mal hier.
Hier noch nicht das erste Mal, aber wir haben die Bilder vom Vierteljahr oder so,
Ja.
von dem wir das auch bekommen haben. Und der hat uns die Bilder geschickt und er hat gesagt, die Erdbeeren werden immer rumgeschleppt und ich habe das Bild, wo die Erdbeere hingehört eigentlich. Und ich versuche das mal so zu lassen, wie es mal war.
Ja.
Wow, this guy was really rearranging things. We were kinda surprised, to be honest. The photographers wanted the place exactly the way they have seen it on recent pictures. And on those, the strawberries were located differently. If you're an explorer yourself, what do you think about that? Are you arranging such places for good shots, or do you leave everything the way you find it? Please explain your approach in the comments, because it's really interesting to us. However, since the place was rearranged now, we had to document the new situation as well, of course. So, here you go. There isn't enough space for two groups of photographers in the small building for sure. That's why we left the school to look around the property a bit longer. Directly adjacent, we had found big tanks. This is the former wastewater treatment plant of the paper mill. But we're not talking about the ruin over there. No, this belonged to the more modern facility that was shut down only a few years ago. However, these tanks were built when the vocational school had been abandoned long since, because the sewage works is from 2005. And if you want to know how these tanks are working, just listen to Till's explanation now. He actually studied this stuff.
Also mein Freund, das da unten ist ein Räumer. Der räumt das alles weg. Ja, fährt auf dem Boden lang und treibt den Schlamm in den Rücklauf. Nicht wie ein Trichter. Und von dort unten wird der Schlamm abgezogen und wieder reingepumpt, weil das nämlich aktive Biomasse ist, die Scheiße klärt.
As you can see, it had started to rain pretty badly. The hurricane we were mentioning earlier was coming closer fast. Meanwhile, we had received a disaster warning on our smartphones. But there was still one main attraction on the property we absolutely wanted to see. And since we had a little bit of time left, we also took a brief look into the service rooms of the wastewater purification plant. It's so clean that it's in stark contrast to the old school next door. Okay, one last stop before we finish our exploration. The former Arts and Leisure Center on the premises we didn't want to miss. Inside here, something was awaiting us, which we usually wouldn't expect to find in a building like this.
Hast du schon mal ein Boot in einem Lost Place gesehen?
Noch nicht. Jetzt schon.
Do you remember when we've said that parts of the property are leased? Apparently, the building is still used as a storage area. There's no other reason why there would be so much materials, and especially a modern boat waiting in here. This building was constructed in 1950 and was meant to keep the workers entertained. Even movies were shown here in the past. We are sorry that we weren't really able to find out much about the site. Neither about the Arts and Leisure Center, nor about the school you are able to find any information online. Only about the old factory you can get a handful of data. For instance, during our research we just learned that it's supposed to be turned into an area for playing airsoft. but we would like to hear your theories. What can you infer from the footage we have shown you and from the things we have told? For example, what's the deal with all the big strawberries you saw earlier? Or do you even have valid information about the premises? One way or another, let us know for sure in the comments. We originally planned to explore more places in the Ore Mountains that day, but due to the hurricane, we had to abort early. After all, we needed to get back home on that day, but the region has much more hidden gems to offer which we would like to document and show you. What do you think? Should we come back for another adventure? This time it's up to you, because you should be able to co-create the channel as well. We look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Next time on Broken Window Theory. After several years of trespassing, we ultimately ended up where we belong. In a prison. Well, in an abandoned one, of course. The history of this sinister place in the heart of Germany dates back all the way to the Middle Ages. Before the huge building complex was used as a prison, it was actually a moated castle. For almost 150 years, forced workers, war prisoners, and prisoners of conscience, among others, were incarcerated here. Today the premises, rich in tradition, is vacant and falling apart bit by bit. In our next episode we try to document the whole story and find out why there is no rescue in sight. Tell us your thoughts about this episode in the comments. And if you like our videos, feel free to share them with your friends. We need your help to gain more attention. We are always putting so much effort, love and time into our content, and so we want to make sure to reach as many people as possible with it. Thanks for your help and keep exploring.